All right, we go to technology now. Serena Williams has invested in an undisclosed amount in Esusu, a fintech startup that allows renters to build and improve credit by reporting their rent payments to credit bureaus. Tennis superstar provided the backing through her venture capital firm, Serena Ventures, as part of the startup's first funding round. Fisayo Durojaye, investment analyst with EchoVC Partners, joins us to talk about that. Fisayo, good morning to you. What do you make of the Esusu business model?
Market, right, and then of course the business essentially is to ensure that people have access. I mean, people living in the bottom of the pyramid have access to financing, and of course, if they couldn't borrow, it means that they have to use something that they do on a monthly basis, as the basis for building the credit profile, right? So essentially, Esusu is using their rent payment, to ensure that yes, people that pay rent on a monthly basis can report this rental payment as part of their credit profile building, and then can have access to other financial services that is to a large extent out of their reach because they don't have a credit profile today.
How important is it for these rent payments, I guess, to be funneled through to the credit bureaus?
I mean, it's like if you're paying rent, it's like you're paying the same thing as loan repayment, essentially. So if you're consistent in paying rent, right, on a monthly basis, at least that's how it works in the US, right? Not Nigeria, where you have to pay 2 years forward, right? So if you're paying your monthly rent if you're paying your rent on a monthly basis and you're not defaulting on that, it suggests a certain kind of behavior, which is the things that financiers are looking for: willingness to pay and ability to pay. You've demonstrated willingness to pay by paying your rent, and of course, ability to pay by paying consistently, right? So those are the critical things that you want to measure, and that's what builds your credit profile. So rental payment, to a large extent, is important to building credit profile eventually.
All right. So how does, I guess, with what Esusu is doing, how does tech aid that what you just described?
So right now, what Esusu is doing is that they have linked themselves with landlords or big property developers, right? So they have data of people paying rent on their platforms, right? And of course, they now linked that to the largest credit bureaus in the US, so like Equifax and all of those, right? To ensure that this rental data is made available, to the biggest credit bureau, so that when these renters are looking to take credit from, say, their bank, right, the credit bureau can look at their rental payments as the basis, especially if they're not taking any loans before, or if they're not had any access to loan before. The credit bureau can look at to a large extent their rental payment, and of course their willingness and ability to pay their rent, and their default rate on their rental payment, to create some form of credit profile for them, create some form of credit score for them, and then these people can access financing. And of course that is totally done by technology. There's no human interaction there. Once you have the landlords on one side, the rental payments, the renters on the other, and of course you plugged in those two data to the credit profile, then of course lending can happen seamlessly.
Does any room for government in all this, or is this going to be like completely private-driven enterprise going forward?
I mean, depending on how you want to look at it, right? So if you are, maybe a more capitalist type government, you probably allow private sector to lead that conversation. But if you're like a Joe Biden that would rather give people, money for staying at home, you probably want to get involved in some of these kind of initiatives, right? But I think the role of government is to a large extent dependent on the policy initiatives of the government in power, I guess.
All right. Yeah, you just have to mention Biden there. Can you?
Every opportunity I have.
Can you see this model working in Nigeria with the credit bureaus we have here?
Yeah, right. I think the biggest challenge in Nigeria is that we still pay our rent 1 year forward. I know quite a number of startups are trying to solve this problem for us by ensuring that yes, people are able to pay their rent on a monthly basis, right? But it's quite difficult because it's not the same context, right? Because we pay our own rent 1 year forward, so it means that it's difficult to find, to be able to draw parallels between that and credit behaviors. Because right now, even people have to go and borrow, to pay their rent because nobody earns their salaries 1 year forward, right? So people still have to go and borrow to finance their rent. So I think that it's not, easily replicable here in Nigeria, except of course landlords are willing and able to collect their rents monthly and are able to measure the consistency in which people pay their rent, and then we're going to see that as credit behavior as well.
Great stuff. Fisayo, every time you're on here, somebody is going to space. Every single time you're on the show, somebody's going to space every time you're on the show. So last time it was Richard Branson. This time it's Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
What do you think? I mean, it's more and more. I think in the next 24 hours he's going to space. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's interesting. For me, I just think that it's again the technology breakthrough here is reusable space, spaceships, right? But of course, it's totally outrageously, not available to the middle class and of course the bottom of the pyramid that many people fall into it. For me, I think my greatest desire now is probably help my daughter get to Antarctica and then come back, because she's been shouting Antarctica since she learned in school. Yeah. Space is probably further down the line when I become a billionaire, like some other people that we know in this country, right? So I guess it's a long shot for someone like me.
but really quickly, can you see it? I guess if you think of the Wright brothers and when they first started flying, can you see the price coming down over time with more players?
In fact, I was having this similar discussion with colleagues to say this thing around space travel, right? How did people react to the first airplane, lifting off? You're like, okay, I don't understand. I'd rather just do camel or cars, right? Rather than flying in the sky. You don't know what will happen, right? So I think it's unless we figure out how people's behavior was back in the days to the first flight to what the behavior is today, right? We might not be able to draw that parallels, but I think that it's probably going to be the same. Space travel is, spend a couple of 3 minutes in space and come back, is it really worth the $200 and something thousand that it would essentially cost? And once technology continues to improve, would we see, reduced? The cost of space travel continues to reduce, similar to the way, cost of air travel has reduced to a large extent, right? Or do we see better efficient, models, similar to the way some planes are a lot more fuel efficient or economical than others, right? So just as innovation continues to improve, I believe that will, price also will drop alongside that.
Fisayo Durojaye, EchoVC Partners Investment Analyst. Thank you so much for taking us through the tech news. Thank you so much, Fisayo.